everyone. I am Susan Gibbs. I'm a channel manager with Plantronics, and joining me today is Ricardo De Andrade, who is a systems architect and evangelist also with Plantronics. So today, the first thing we're going to talk about is introduce the Voyager Legend UC, which is our next generation UC and Bluetooth headset. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about smart sensor technology and introduce this idea of sensors and what we're doing and why we're integrating sensor technology into our headsets. Then I'm going to turn it over to Ricardo, and he's going to do a quick demo on smart presence, and hopefully it'll help you understand and put together why sensor technology is so important to our strategy. And then finally I'm going to end by talking about contextual intelligence and what we mean when we say the headset is open for development. So the Voyager Legend UC, which is right here, and so this is our next generation UC and Bluetooth enabled headset. So pairs both, obviously Bluetooth, so pairs with your mobile phone or your tablet device, but then also pairs with the soft phone. And we ship two versions of it. The first is sort of a general UC version that pairs with really any soft phone. And then we also ship one that is optimized and specific to Microsoft Link. For those of you that are familiar with the Voyager Pro UC, this is the next generation, it's the replacement version. And you notice a couple differences. The first thing is it's a little more sleek and it's a little thinner. So it's 25% smaller, which, so the body of it is thinner and it's shorter. And really the benefit to that is, number one, it's much more comfortable to wear. And then number two, it also fits a wider range of the population. And that's something that's important to Plantronics as we develop headsets. We try to fit as much of the population as possible. A couple other features to point out: it has more dedicated buttons, such as an on-off switch, which makes it a little more user-friendly, easier to turn on, easier to turn off. The Voyager Pro UC, you have to kind of push down on the button and hold it down and wait for it to power up. And then there's a dedicated mute button on the bottom, whereas before it was kind of shared functionality on the top. It was just not very user-friendly. It wasn't as comfortable to go ahead and mute it really easily. It now has a dedicated button where you can mute on or mute off. 7 hours of talk time and 11 days of standby time. And the Voyager Legend UC also ships with multiple charging options. And one of the things it ships with is the charging case. And when the charging case is fully charged, you get an additional 14 hours of talk time. So really, for that person that's on the go a lot, you don't have to worry about running out of power because you have multiple charging options. You don't have to worry about finding a power outlet to go ahead and charge your headset. Probably the most exciting thing, though, about the Voyager Legend UC is the voice alerts and voice commands. So when you turn the headset on and you put it on your ear, the first thing it does, it tells you it's on, tells you what it's paired with, and it also tells you how much battery time you have left, so you know if you're going to make it through the day or if you have to go ahead and recharge. The other thing is it announces incoming calls. So it tells you when somebody's calling, and also pulls the contact information from your contact list and tells you who's calling. So you call me and you're in my contact list, it announces that you're calling, and then I can choose to answer or not answer the call simply by saying answer or ignore. So it truly becomes a hands-free device. And again, think about if you're on the road a lot and all these municipalities have hands-free laws, you don't have to look around for your headset if you're in the car and you get an incoming call, because you know who's calling and you can choose to answer or ignore the call on the fly. And then smart sensor technology. So we've embedded sensors into our headsets. And essentially the sensors work much the way sensors in many consumer electronics work, like your iPhone or your iPad, where it uses the conductive nature of your skin to go ahead and identify what you want to do, and the sensor then activates because of the touching or the conductiveness of the skin. So for example, I go ahead and I put the headset on, I bring it up towards my head, it recognizes that I'm putting it on due to it touching my skin, and it activates that sensor, it processes it, it knows that I'm putting my headset on. It's also a smart sensor, so an action such as putting it in my pocket or putting it in my purse doesn't activate that sensor. So that's why these are smart. It can tell the difference between me putting the headset in my pocket, it's not going to answer it, versus this action of putting it on my head. And what that allows, it allows the headset to know, am I wearing it? Am I not wearing it? So things like automatically answering it. So I'm not wearing my headset, a call comes in, I go ahead and put it on, the headset knows because I'm putting it on, I want to go ahead and answer the call. It's also, the sensors are what allows the connection between the headset, the phone, and the computer for things like smart presence. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ricardo and have him show a couple of demos.
Can I have?
There you go.
So what I'm gonna be showing you guys is actually how it works in real life. So I have my Link and Skype running. They both have my presence displayed there. Let's say if I set it to available, and I have my headset.
Sorry.
I have the headset paired to both my my cell phone and my laptop, which is being used for the presentation right now. As soon as I make a call from my cell phone, which is not connected to the computer at all, I'll just dial, making a call. He updated my status on both Link and Skype, so in a call and also unavailable on Skype. Similarly, he also detects when you're near from your computer or you're away from the computer. It uses the Bluetooth radio for that. So if I were to walk away from here, my computer would detect that I'm away, and it could potentially lock the screen from my computer. Other smart sensors that we have, also leveraging the fact that we're connected to both the computer and the cell phone. Once I get an incoming call from my cell phone, I could also have a pop-up screen on my computer saying that there's a new mobile call coming in, which you could then control from your computer. You could choose to answer or disconnect the call from the computer without having to touch your cell phone. And all those features, all the events, everything that's from the device itself, we have available for development on an SDK. And we launched back in May a developer site called developer.plantronics.com. I think we have some more slides about that, right? Okay.
Okay, so the headset is open for development. So what do we mean when we say that? So when we talk about this idea of contextual intelligence and some of the things that Ricardo talked about, what we're essentially talking about is taking the technology that we've developed over the past 50 years and opening it up to allow developers to create applications on our headsets. So essentially the headset becomes more than just simply an audio device. If you think about things like caller identity and proximity and presence, those can all be integrated into an application around the headset. So an example of this in the real world, that we have actually an app developed by a third-party company that ties into Salesforce.com. So I talked about the Voyager Legend being able to identify who's calling and announce who's calling based on my contact list. So the third-party application is called Popcorn. It's by a company called 3Will. It takes that even one step further, and what it does is it identifies who's calling in, and through this application automatically will pull up the Salesforce.com screen if it's one of my customers. So I'm using that application, my customer calls me, the headset announces who it is, it's one of my customers, and automatically that Salesforce.com screen comes up. So now the headset is still a great audio device because I'm going to use it to make my phone call, but it's also it allows me to be more efficient, and it improves business processes for other applications that I'm running in my business. And specifically on Lync, so there's a lot of development that can be done in a Lync environment. And again, starts with that headset that's optimized for Lync. Like I said, all of our UC-enabled headsets, we do have an option to purchase one that is optimized specifically for Lync. And then what differentiates us from other headsets are we have our SDK, which is open and available for anyone to develop on. We've created a developer community of ISVs that are creating applications and contextually aware apps to allow better and more efficient business processes in Lync. So Lync suddenly doesn't become just a communications platform, but it becomes integrated into all these business processes as well. And as Ricardo mentioned, we have our developer community. It's the PDC, and it's at developer.plantronics.com. And out there you can get the SDK, which is a free download. There's also blogs, there's a community of developers. You can have access to Plantronics engineers and product experts, documentation, samples. In addition, there's also examples of applications that are already developed on the Plantronics headset. So it's a community that's very active right now. It's a community that is currently being, it's growing, and ISVs are out there developing. So something that I encourage all of our partners and our customers, whether they're developers or whether they have a managed service or have any development opportunities, or even if they're not, I encourage people to go out there and take a look at some of these applications that have been developed already, because it probably might fit into some of your customers' businesses, and it can help you maybe get an in to your customer if you know how a headset can more effectively fit into their business strategy. And that is the end of my presentation. So.